All right, next up, we're going to talk about, hey, I inherited a property. What should I do? Should I keep it and rent it, or should I sell it? So we've got this checklist here that you can go through. We're going to break these down and just go over 8 questions that you should ask to think through which plan is right for you. So the first one is make sure the mortgage is paid. All right, that's critical. How is the mortgage going to get paid if you rent it out? Do you have any experience being a landlord? Do you have the money saved up to cover if you have any vacancies or if there's maintenance that needs to be done? Just making sure that mortgage is going to be paid month in, month out. That's step number 1 if you're going to consider renting it.
And I would add this to the mortgage. Make sure that either you can assume the mortgage whoever is inheriting the property to you, make sure you can either assume it, or your bank may want you to take out a new loan if there is a mortgage that needs to be paid each month. Number 2 is the investment is only as good as the manager. So management for rental properties is the way to go, in my opinion, if you're going to keep it as a rental. So you're going to pay between 5 on the very low end, 5% to upwards of 12%, or sometimes even 15% of the rents each month. So if your rents each month are $2,000, you'll pay 5% of that $2,000, or up to 10, 15% of that, to have someone else professionally manage the property. If you decide to keep it as a rental, I highly encourage you to look into and interview several local property managers and see who is offering the most competitive rates and good services.
Absolutely. Number 3, property ownership costs money, right? So as a homeowner, if you do own a home, you probably know sometimes it feels like the house owns you. There's always things breaking and needing to be fixed and repaired. What is the saying? The triple T's: tenants, termites, and what is it?
Toilets.
Toilets.
Termites, right. Toilets. Taxes. Don't forget taxes. There's taxes. The 4 T's.
Yep. So we actually know this from experience. We've got a rental property over in Bellingham, Washington, and not too long after we acquired it, hey, it turns out the water heater needed to be replaced, and a fan in the bathroom needs to be fixed, and the garage door doesn't work, and so there's just stuff that kind of comes out of the woodwork that needs to be repaired, and that's just kind of normal. So don't feel like it's unique to anybody in particular. Just know that maintaining a property and keeping it up, especially when you have tenants in it, takes finances. So be prepared for that.
Number 4 is selling a property for top dollar costs money. This, again, seems obvious, but if you don't want to deal with making repairs, updating kitchens, improving landscaping, overall cleanup, there is other options. You could work with somebody like us at Living Well Properties. You don't need to pay another penny in fixing up toilets or dealing with termites if you're working with a cash buyer or an investor who's going to come in and just buy a property as is.
That's right. Next one is going to be number 5. If the market will continue to grow faster than your other options, hang on to that investment. So this is really deciding if you're in an appreciating market or just a cash flowing market, or both. So, is the piece of property, if you're going to hold on to it, you're not going to sell it, you're going to keep it as a rental, can you get in that market pretty good rates where you're going to have plenty to cover all of your costs for maintaining the property, paying the mortgage, and then you're also going to have some profit left over. So that would be a cash flowing property. And also an appreciating market would be, okay, the property this year is going to be worth even more next year. 10% growth is screaming fast, and our property is in a community that's doing that. So it's fantastic. So just do some research in the market that your property that you inherited is this an appreciating market, and is it a depreciating? That's really important to know. You probably don't want to hold on to it if it's depreciating, unless it's really cash flowing for some reason. That's pretty rare. Yeah. So those are 2, appreciating market and cash flowing market. Those are things to look out for.
Well, and this is a good time to say that we're not providing legal advice or even financial advice. We're not your CPA or your lawyer. So check with your CPA if he or she has some opinions on your long-term investments. But another obvious part of that same thing that you're saying there, Daniel, is, do I want the cash out of this property now, or do I not need it and I'd rather have the cash flow from a rental or wealth later?
Yep.
Number 6 is Uncle Sam wants a piece of the action. So don't forget to discuss your inheritance with a tax and legal professional. That is not us. Before you take action, there are major property and income consequences that will dramatically impact the cost of owning your investment. So that's something you just got to talk with your professional about.
There you go. Number 7, consider all your options. So just thinking through, how is this going to impact your life if you keep it as a rental? Is it going to change? If you decide to self-manage it, is it close to you? Is that something that you want? Is that actually going to improve things? Is there enough money left over to have it managed by another company? Or am I better off maybe selling the property and reinvesting that into something that's going to take less of your time, or you're going to enjoy more? So just don't jump into it and make a decision really quickly unnecessarily. Think of all your options. Take a minute and assess all those.
Absolutely. And of course, there's probably many millions of options you could choose from, whether you keep it as a short-term rental where you're getting people in an Airbnb or if you're keeping it as a long-term rental for nurses or for students, or if you just want to be done with it and cash that property out. Maybe you're concerned about where the market's going in the next few years. Maybe you're suspicious that a crash is coming, and maybe this is a good time to just cash that property out. All of those are different scenarios that you're just going to want to think deeply on before you make that decision.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.